Welcome to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska on Big Cabbage Radio.
All right, welcome everybody to Ag Matters. You're listening to the radio show that is the premier place to learn about farming in the far north. And this is a great place to be able to meet the top agricultural phenomenons across the great state of Alaska. And I am your host, Ken Hoffman. I'm the owner of Matsu Microgreens, a small farm in Palmer, but I'm also the executive director of the Matsu chapter of the Alaska Farm Bureau. And if you want to learn more about joining the Alaska Farm Bureau and becoming a partner with the Alaska Ag community, please visit our website at alaskafb.org or go ahead and email me at matsufarmbureau@gmail.com. So today we have a very special guest and a great friend of mine. We have today calling in Denise Hardy with the Williams Reindeer Farm. So, Denise, how are you doing today?
Hey, Ken, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited. A lot of our listenership, they know about the Reindeer Farm. Maybe they visited, but maybe they don't know the history of the farm, of how the reindeer happened to settle in the buttes and how you became the owner of the farm. So if you wouldn't mind starting off the program with a nice, concise history of the Reindeer Farm.
You bet. So our farm is a colony farm, and my grandparents actually purchased the farm from the original colonists, which was the Nelson family, in 1955. And my dad was raised here when it was a dairy farm back in the 50s in his high school years. And then everybody kind of left, but we came back in 1978 is when my dad purchased the farm back from my grandmother. And so that's when I was raised here also. I moved back when I was about just turning 8 years old. Anyway, in 1987, my dad had always wanted to have a moose farm, but you can't have a moose farm in Alaska. The moose are all owned by the state of Alaska. And so he heard about reindeer herding and that people were owning reindeer in Scandinavia and in Canada. And he went ahead and got permission from the Bureau of Indian Affairs to import some reindeer from Canada. So we brought reindeer here from Canada in 1987 was the first group. The second group came in 1988. So we started with about 120 reindeer, and that's about where we run our herd today as well. We've been up as high as about 380 at one point. The goal of getting into reindeer was that they were a little bit more efficient as far as, the food that they eat. They were native to the climate, a little more efficient than cows, but then you could get a little bit more per pound. And so the venture started as a meat farm, but we had a lot of curious people wanting to see the animals because, of course, they don't run around here natively. And so people would come out from Anchorage and can we just take a look? Can we just see your animals? My dad was really proud of it, and so he would share the animals with people. Eventually, that turned into tours. And so over the many years since the early 90s, we've been doing guided tours, and so that's kind of how we got started.
Okay, wow. So would you say that your farm is more focused on agritourism rather than meat production?
Yes. Currently, the market is more, it's kind of changed. So over the many years, there's been a lot of focus. In the early years, the focus was on meat production, but then the tourism side of it, the agritourism side of it kind of fell into our laps because of the amount of people that kept coming and wanting to see them and things like that. And then as you open to the public, things happen like USDA gets involved because you're now opening a farm to the public, and so they want to make sure the animals are safe, and any animals being displayed, you have to have a USDA permit. And so once you kind of get in that deep, and that definitely was where the money started coming, was from the amount of visitors that we had. And then my dad still maintained that market as far as the growing the reindeer for meat, but then we were also able to have enough that we did the tourism side of it. And then he also had tried venturing into antler sales, which the velvet antler sales is a whole nother market. He did that for a few years. But at this time, I would say most of our income is going to be from the agritourism. We don't really do much in the way of meat sales anymore. We do a lot of live animal sales. So live animal sales has kind of turned into the second part of our our business too.
Okay, so when you say live animal sales, I'm imagining like commercial Santa operations from across the nation. Is that what you mean by that, or are they going to just zoos, or are they personal pets?
All of the above. And really the market has been a little bit more currently, it is out of state. That's where people are really wanting to spend the money. And we have so many customers wanting to purchase from out of state that's kind of where a lot of our reindeer are going. But we do sell some in-state, kind of a more limited number, mostly because of the high market value for them out of state. Like it's almost like we can't afford to sell them in-state, or we can't afford to sell for meat, because right now that's where the market is. But we've seen the market over the last 40 years fluctuate. There's going to be there may come a time where the market kind of crashes. This happened with like alpacas in the past, where at one point alpacas were going for $20,000 a piece, and now people are giving them away. They're everywhere, and down in lower 48 anyway, they're just giving them away because they kind of saturated the market. The fad was over. But one nice thing about reindeer is because they are kind of a mythical creature, because of the Santa Claus thing, that they do tend to, that kind of definitely keeps that market going a little bit. I think people want to continue that story line.
Yeah. Wow, that is fascinating. Okay, so I have a couple simple questions. I don't know a lot about reindeer. Is there a difference between the word reindeer and caribou? Are they different animals, or does it have to do with domestication? What is it?
Yeah, so they're the same species, different subspecies. There are like 11 different subspecies of cervids or reindeer caribou out there. So caribou were not domesticated, reindeer are domesticated. So in the United States and Canada are the only countries in the whole world that have caribou. Everywhere else in the world call them reindeer and raise them as domesticated pets, or like they're herding animals, and they are raised as that way, as such. And so reindeer were actually purchased and brought to Alaska from Scandinavia and from Russia. And caribou have always been here. Is kind of the difference. Okay. So you're always going to buy a reindeer. You're always going to probably hunt a caribou.
Okay, fascinating. So, wow, reindeer farms. Are there many reindeer farms in the lower 48? Because if you're saying that you're shipping out your reindeer to the lower 48, that must mean that there's just not enough supply down there, and the demand is outstripping it. Are there special laws that are in place?
Yeah, there are a lot of farms. Last year I sold to 3 or 4 different zoos, and so I do usually sell to at least a zoo or two every year, it seems like. And then, but really the market is these reindeer farms. Most of them have them as pets, and then they are really excited to share them at Christmas. Some people may try to get into the business to make a living on it. Most people do not make a living on reindeer. If they're getting into reindeer for the money, they're probably getting in for the wrong reasons. But they definitely can help pay their feed bill a little bit through the Christmas season. Most of the farms I sell to are people that already have reindeer, and they're just looking to diversify their genetics. Maybe they've had reindeer that they bought from somebody down in the lower 48 that they know has been kind of saturated in the area. Like other reindeer farms, they're all trading, but they all have kind of the same bloodlines, got from the same breeder. And so by bringing some in from Alaska, that's like all fresh blood for them. So they're able to kind of diversify their genetics and make sure that they've got healthy animals and things like that. People that are getting into reindeer down there are, they're spending pretty good money to get the animals, and they spare no expense at the care and the upkeep of these animals. But they really live a pampered life once they get there.
Oh, that's great. Now, you're talking about genetic diversity. Does that mean that you are also trying to purchase animals from the lower 48 to diversify your bloodline? Or are Alaska reindeers currently, they're diverse enough that you're not running into any issues?
Yeah, so luckily they're pretty generous as far as their genetics go. And I don't know if that's from years of the animals being like on they've had times where they've put them in islands to populate different islands with caribou or reindeer for people to hunt and have a food source, like Adak Island when they had the military base there. They brought in a bunch of reindeer and put them on the island so people would be able to hunt them, and there's no natural predators and things like that. So one thing about our herd is we've been a closed herd for over 10 years now, and we are part of a couple programs. They're through the government. One is the chronic wasting disease program, and it is monitored through our state vet, monitors this program. And the chronic wasting disease has been spreading across the lower 48. And so once it pops in a state, then they consider the state, maybe, they have some issues. So then they usually are trying to lock things down and change things up. So that's where those live animal sales to the lower 48 could change if for some reason CWD takes over. They may close down any imported animals being allowed to be imported. But right now, Alaska is CWD free, but we are part of that program. We're also part of a tuberculosis and brucellosis program, which is federally monitored. And so because of these monitoring programs, we can only purchase from other owners that are in the program. So there are 2 other farms in the state of Alaska that are also part of these programs that we could purchase from. Only one other farm in the state that is in this program has new genetics for me. And so he just picked up some bulls for me, and I'm getting some from him at some point this fall, possibly. But anyway, so it kind of limits who I can purchase from.
Got it. Okay.
Because of that.
On behalf of homesteaders here in Alaska, there's a lot of folks that, buy a cow, raise a cow for meat, slaughter the cow, or have goats, family sheep. Are there any rules that would prohibit, say, just a normal family that wants to have a family reindeer? Could they buy from you if they paid the price?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we look for. Number one is goats and sheep don't mix well with reindeer. They carry a bug called malignant catarrhal fever, and it only sheds occasionally, and not all of them carry it, but a majority of them do. And so if a reindeer gets exposed to that, it'll kill them pretty quick, within a day or two. And so we don't recommend you doing sheep and goats and reindeer together. It's not really that safe at all, and could be a waste of your money because your animal could die pretty quick if they start shedding the virus. So that's one thing. The second thing is they are, I would say, a little bit harder to keep, mostly because of antlers. They play in fencing a lot, so they shred a lot of fencing and things like that. So you also have to have a little bit taller fencing that you might with a cow or sheep or goats. Goats are kind of known for getting out, and so you want to have a secure fence with the goats. But with reindeer, like any kind of cheaper fencing, they can tend to just rip a hole right into it. And when they're gone, they may be gone. So also they're herd animals, so we wouldn't normally sell just one to somebody. We would sell them with a friend, and we really recommend 3 because if something happens to one, then you still got 2 that could be together. So those are just some things that we follow. There are other people in the state, reindeer possibly for sale, and so they would probably be a little bit cheaper just because they aren't part of these programs that we're a part of, which cost us a lot of money to be a part of those programs. And so they can afford to sell them for a little bit less, but they also can't sell out of state. That's like Alaska is their market.
Okay. Wow. Fascinating. So I have one more question, but then I want to get into all of the events that your guys' farm puts on, especially since it's April and it's calving season and such. But the question is, today we're in April, and all over the news has been some controversy regarding Star, the zoo reindeer, and I would love to hear your opinion on that. And also, what do you guys do to protect your reindeer from the public?
Yeah, you bet. The controversy on Star, meaning that he was alone, or meaning that somebody messed with him, or which part of the controversy?
You probably know more than I do. I think the messing with him, I'm not sure on the history of that. Yeah. I was wondering if you could let us know.
I've been in touch with Albert a lot. Albert and I are friends, and he notified me the first break-in that happened. So over the years, there have been a lot of people that have harmed Star, and one of them was a person got in and kidnapped him and then took him home and slaughtered him, basically. Cut his throat and slaughtered him. And so that's why they created the new pen, which had a top on it. It was basically enclosed on all sides. And he had it deadbolted, locked with a deadbolt. This last break-in, the guy actually came and brought bolt cutters and cut the bolt and then turned Star loose first. and he caught him on camera, but he had his face covered. And then the second time, the guy came back, he was spraying something in the pen, and Star's curious, so he went kind of over to him, and he got sprayed right in the face a couple times, and we think that may be what triggered the pneumonia. And we don't know what he was spraying, but when Albert confronted him because he saw him on the camera, he said, "I'm just trying to help him." And so we don't know what that meant exactly. If he was spraying maybe like an air freshener or exactly what he was trying to help. But so we're not really sure what happened there, but it was devastating to Albert and to Anchorage because, with what happened, it's possible, Albert doesn't feel like another animal would be safe there. So I'm not sure what's going to, come of that. One thing we do to protect our animals is we do have a double fence everywhere. If you are up close to our fence, then you have to be with a guide. So we have 2 fences around our property so that people can't get close to our animals, they can't interact with them unless we're present. Also, but that doesn't protect them fully. There's always going to be a risk if you have animals. There was one year, I think it was in 2000, a guy shot into our herd from the road and killed 6 of our reindeer. And and my dad followed his tracks, and we were able to track him right to his house because he was on a snow machine. And it was really devastating to us because those were some of the animals we bottle raised. They were our pets. It was really traumatic. And so the things going on with Stars kind of brought back some of those feelings and memories from what happened to us. And so anytime you have livestock, we have 80 acres on our butte here, and we would love to have some animals fenced up there. We had our horses up there for a long time, and people were trespassing and cutting our fence and things like that. So we just don't feel safe having our animals up there without us being around. So it's just kind of a bummer.
Okay. Wow. That's a bummer. So, all right. Well, we should talk about something a little bit happier now. I know it's April, which means baby animals galore. Are there any baby reindeer being calved?
Yeah, we've had 3 now. We're hoping for about 40 total. And so right now we've got 3 on the ground. They're 3 little boys, and one was born yesterday. And they're all doing really good and healthy, and we're super excited. We love baby season, especially when it's going good. But there's always a risk when you're calving.
So if I remember right, you're having an event to celebrate baby animals. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this is the first year we've been open in the month of April. So normally in the last forever many years, we have been closed the month of April. We're open all the rest of the year. This is the one month we've always taken to really focus on the calves and the babies and to kind of turn the farm over from winter to summer and get things set up for our summer schedule. But with the warmer weather that we've had this winter and with the staff that we have on right now, we felt like we could probably do Saturdays. And so we are currently open every Saturday in April, which is really big for us because, like I said, in the past, we've always closed, which is exciting because it gives people a chance to see the babies when they're just brand new. We had our first tour was last Saturday in April, and we actually had one born that morning. And so people were able to see it from afar. We don't go in with them or anything, but they're able to see it from afar, be able to see those animals, see the babies as they're trying to keep up with mom and stuff like that. So that's really fun. We decided to do a baby animal day because we also got a baby pig recently, and we have some chicks that are hatching. They're in the incubator right now. And we've got some baby alpacas one's almost a year old, one's not quite a year old. And we are expecting more baby alpacas, but not till later in the summer. So we're going to bring out our little babies that were born last year, and the people will get to snuggle with them. We've got the animal shelter coming, and they're hopefully bringing some puppies and kittens. And so we'll have all these little we've got some baby bunnies. And so we'll have all these people open up for this baby animal day, which is going to be April 19th. And actually, great for us, but unfortunate for everybody else. The event is sold out at the moment. We opened up Friday afternoon, and it also sold out pretty quick. But that's kind of all we're going to be able to do. People can still come and see all the baby animals because when we have baby bunnies and things like that, when we buy them, we actually keep them forever. And so they will be babies this year. These grow pretty quick. So anyway, the following week on April 26th, we'll also be doing just winter tours. But of course, all the baby animals will be here except for the kittens and puppies. Those are the only ones that won't be here. But so if you can't get in on Baby Animal Day, you could still come to the winter tour the following week.
Wow, that is pretty adorable. Oh my goodness. Too bad you sold out, but yeah, good for you guys that you sold out. So
yeah,
say folks from Anchorage want to come out to the Reindeer Farm and experience the Reindeer Farm. What is your recommendation for how much time they should set aside to spend at the Reindeer Farm, and what sort of attractions do you have for folks?
Well, starting May 1st through Labor Day, we're open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. Last entrance is around 5 p.m. We recommend you could probably do all the animals in about an hour. And one thing that is special about our farm versus the zoo and other places is that you actually get to interact with the animals. So we have staff at each of the different animal areas. They have treats for you to feed those animals. As long as the animals are wanting and hungry, then you're able to feed them. Of course, we don't force them to perform, but they are available for interacting and feeding and photos and things. And so one thing a lot of people don't know is we have more than reindeer here. We actually have reindeer, moose, bison, elk, alpacas, Highland cattle, yaks, mini donkeys, pigs, chickens, peacock, turkey. So we have a little bit more than just reindeer. And our goal is for you to connect with those animals when you're here. We want people to feel some kind of connection, and so we want you to interact with as many as possible. I'm always curious to hear who connected with which animal. What was your favorite at the end of the tour or at the end of the visit? We also have a kid play area that'll be open May 1st, do tractor wagon rides every hour through the summer. And we have horses too. And we'll be doing pony rides, I think, on the weekends. And so most people, if the weather's nice, some people will be here minimum of 2 to 4 hours. But that's because you can hang out in the kid play area if you've got children. If you're just here for the animals, I would plan on minimum an hour to get through everything. But yeah, it's a pretty fun time, I think.
Wow. And you guys have a reptile exhibit as well, which is like the only one that I know of in the state besides the state fair.
Yeah, I think we're the only ones at this point. But yeah, I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me. We did add reptiles this year, and it's all included in the admission price. So you get to go see all of that. And we also will have in the summer months, we have somebody staffed in there full time, and they have a reptile out for you to pet or interact with. It could be a snake or a lizard or something. So, but definitely check that out. My staff decorated it, and we have an artist that works for us, and it's just beautiful. She's hand done it, hand painted all the enclosures, and it's really pretty.
Yeah, Jody's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, and it's actually in the colony chicken coop from the colony days. So we call it the reptile coop because it's the colony chicken coop.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm so excited. You know, I feel terrible. I've lived in Alaska all my life, but I've never been to the Reindeer Farm, so I have to go this year and take my wife.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So we're near the end of our program. Thank you so much for your time. It was fascinating. If you could just give us a quick rundown of the address of the farm and how people can get a hold of you guys at your website, your Facebook, whatever you have.
You bet. We're at 5561 South Bodenberg Loop in Palmer, which is in the Butte area. We're at the bottom of the Butte. One thing we are adding this year, I forgot to mention, is possibly reindeer treks up the Butte on our side. It's an easier hike than the bigger side. Also, we are at Williams Reindeer Farm on Facebook, or I think Reindeer Farm AK on Instagram. Our website is www.reindeerfarm.com.
Wow. Thank you so much, Denise. I'm so excited, and I really appreciate you coming on the program today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody. You've been listening to Ag Matters. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Ag Matters, covering positive agriculture stories from across Alaska. Ag Matters is a production of Radio Free Palmer, recorded at our studios in Palmer, Alaska. For more information about this program, email manager@radiofreepalmer.org.